Hi, my name is Denise Bayron. I design knitting and sewing patterns. My class on Skillshare just launched, and it's about everything you need to know if you'd like to sew garments. I hope you'll join me. Here's a sneak peek. We finally made it to the fun part. We're going to start sewing. I have 2 practice exercises for us to work on. The first is sewing straight lines and turning a corner, which you will need for all garments, and also sewing a curved seam. And we're going to look at 2 versions, what to do when your seam is inwardly curving and outwardly curving. They're called convex and concave curves. You'll treat them differently. Stay with me, it's not complicated, and these are going to be fun exercises. So I am going to encourage you to look at the class resources. We have provided 2 downloadable PDFs so that you can have exactly what I'm working with right now. Sewing in a straight line is essential when top stitching and edge stitching. And I will show you what that is in a future lesson. Let's do the practice work first, perfect this skill, and then we'll move on. When I took classes at San Francisco City College, my teacher would repeat the same things over and over again. So I'm going to share those little tips and tricks with you. First, before you stitch, you're going to make sure that your presser foot is down. And before you hit that pedal to go, you're going to use the wheel to drop the needle into the fabric. Nothing moves until the presser foot is down and the needle is down. The next thing you're going to do is hold on to your tails for the first 2 or 3 stitches. If you don't, the needle will catch those threads and you'll get a nest, a big knot underneath the fabric. So you'll see that with my right hand over here, I'm holding on to my tails. Now this is really precise. I am going to backstitch, reverse stitch, it's called backstitching, for 2 stitches. Okay, that was down 2. And now I can move forward. When you backstitch first and then go forward, it locks the thread in. It's almost like tying a knot. Okay, let's continue. I've already held my tails for those first 2 stitches, but I'll do it for you again. I'm gonna go forward, and now I'm going to follow the lines that I've traced onto my fabric and that you'll trace onto your fabric using your PDF. So I'm gonna sew to the bottom. I'm gonna pause a second and take this needle thread and pull it to the back of my work so it doesn't get in my way. Now it's just hanging back there. And I'm gonna continue sewing in a straight line to the corner. I've got 1 stitch left. So that I don't overshoot it, I'm going to use my wheel to move the 1 stitch. One other trick that my teacher always said was never walk away. That means never walk your wheel away from you. You want to always walk that wheel towards you, okay? Now I want to turn the corner. My needle is down, my presser foot is down. I'm going to lift the presser foot, turn the fabric. Remember, my needle is down. That is locking in that fabric and I can't move it anywhere. And I'm going to now bring down the presser foot and sew again in a straight line. Let's do that again. Lift up the presser foot, turn your corner 90 degrees. Another tip to think about is, I'm not looking at that needle. That needle is a moving target and it's gonna blind you and irritate you. What I'm looking at is my line, and I'm lining up, I'm placing that line in this little divot on my presser foot. So it's almost like a guide for me to sew in a straight line. Let's go. Put your needle down, turn the corner. I drew these lines exactly 1/2 inch apart. Now my needle goes down. Oops, I made a little mistake. Remember the thing about mistakes not being a problem? What I'm going to do is I'm going to lift my needle up a second, slide it back so that my needle is exactly where I want it to be, manually drop it down, and now I am bang on at that 90-degree angle. Turn the corner. I'm doing the same thing, manually using precision. Okay, I'm at the corner, and what we're doing is we're making concentric squares. Now turn the corner. You'll see how pretty this is when we're done. One more stitch, so I'm using my wheel. Hopefully you've gotten the idea of what we're doing so far. We are sewing in straight lines and pivoting at exactly ½ inch away from the previous line. So I am lifting my presser foot, turning the corner, lowering my presser foot, and continuing the line. And the last one. At the end, do you remember when we hit the back stitch at the very beginning to make a little knot? I want you to get in the habit of always backstitching at the end of your stitch. This will prevent your seams from coming apart. So I'm going to lower my needle, use the reverse button on my sewing machine. I just did 2 stitches back, and I'm going to go 2 stitches forward. I'm doing those manually so that I don't overshoot. And boom, we are done. Now, I'm going to ask you to be the judge of my work. Let's see how I did. I'm using my little thread snips to cut the thread. I'm going to cut the threads from the beginning, and then we'll take a look at my work. Obviously, when you sew a garment, you're not going to be using contrast thread. I'm using black thread on white fabric, and by the way, this is just a scrap from my real life stash. Let's look at my lines. Are they precise? I can see that this one in this little corner is, I'd say maybe 89 degrees. It's not exactly 90 degrees, but I told you, this is practice. It's not going to be perfect, and if I, as your teacher, made a questionable little boo-boo here, you may have some boo-boos too. So extend yourself a little bit of grace. Do this as many times as you need. Pause the lesson. Come back to me after you've tried this. Otherwise, all of my other corners are pretty close to 90 degrees. That was a sneak peek of my sewing class. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please join my sewing class. Click on the link below and I will see you in class.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all of our latest videos.